Hey guys, what's going on? This is Matt Winning at winningstrength.com. And today is kind of a personal side note of why I think the 90s rocked in lifting. So let's get to it. In 92, I started my weightlifting journey. So I'm walking around the grocery store with my mom, bored as hell, and I make my way over to the magazine area. I pick up a magazine. I don't remember if it was Muscle and Fitness or something of that nature, and there was a guy in there lifting weights to play football. And I'm 12, and I'm like, wow, this must be what I need to do in order to be able to play football next year. A little bit of a backstory is when I was 6 years old, I got hit by a car and I had broke my legs in 6 places and shattered my pelvis. So first grade was all in a hospital bed, pretty banged up. Second grade, I end up walking in a cast on my right leg, still below my knee, like a cast boot. And so as much as I wanted to play baseball and basketball, my knees and my ankles were just so pissed from all the trauma that I ended up swimming because I grew up next to a competitive swimming pool that swam against other neighborhoods in the city or the county. And so I gravitated towards swimming, and that helped build up my arms and my shoulders and my back and my chest. And I was always a little too big to swim, but I did well. So we get to 7th grade, or close to 7th grade, we're in 6th grade, and I see that lifting weights is for football. So I beg my mom for my birthday to get me a YMCA membership. She gets it for me. It's about a 1.5 mile bike ride from my house. I go in there and I start lifting weights. And that's when it all started. So there was a couple guys in there that were amateur bodybuilders. They were actually pretty good. But there was another guy in there. His name was Tim Smith. He was a 500-pound bencher at 181 body weight. Completely raw, totally insane. National caliber lifter in his day, and he sees me, thinks I'm in like middle high school, like junior, and he's like, hey, you ought to come lift with us. And he finds out I'm in 6th grade, and it just blows him away. So that was a big thing, I think, that started me with the lifting thing. So what happened after that? What are some top things that made the 90s special for me and think that rocks? Is one, I start to dig into Powerlifting USA and I see all these articles and pictures of Ed Cohen doing these amazing numbers at such a light body weight. 901 at 220, well over 1,000 pound squat at 220, 242. Just numbers that were unfathomable even for a massive guy. This guy's doing it the next weight class down. And so with that, it made me dig even deeper into training. And I started seeing articles of Louis Simmons, and the shit that he was talking was so far out of my education range at that point, I didn't have any idea. He was talking about bands, chains, mostly chains at that time. The bands really hadn't kicked in. Reverse hypers, things like that, which just blew my mind, which we'll get to later. But Ed Cohen was a huge draw to making me want to be a great lifter and switch all of my focus onto powerlifting. The next big thing was I did a bench press contest at 13. So I'm just going into my 8th grade year. So I will be 14 in like 2 months. And Timmy, my buddy's like, the guy that started helping train, he's like, you ought to do this bench bash on the beach thing out in front of the Y. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. You're embarrassed, you're a little kid. So I go out there, and Timmy doesn't have anybody really announce what the weights are. So he just makes the jumps and ended up bench pressing 250, which blew people's minds away. That really started to affirm me wanting to start lifting weights very competitively. And also, you feel good when you do something that, you're good at. And so that started the actual like competitive bug. So it jumped onto me pretty quick, and it lasted with me for 25, 30 years. So doing the bench press contest was a huge thing. And I strongly urge people to compete. I think that it's very important to not only see what you can lift, but what you can lift that day. Plus, you find people that do competitions tend to have better training cycles because they're trying to get stronger, and they have directive points in which they need to get better, which is what periodization really is all about. So if you're not really competing and you're just kind of a gym rat type person, make sure you do at least one contest a year to do as a measurement tool to see where you're going. The third and final thing, and probably the biggest thing that happened to me in all of the 90s, was getting a chance to meet and then train with Louis Simmons. So 1999, I'm walking around the Arnold Classic. I had just won the teenage WDFPF Worlds. And so, I think I'm a pretty hot shot, dude. And Louis Simmons and Jim Windler and Dave Tate and all those guys are walking out because George Halbert had just bench pressed some crazy shit like 700 over 242. And they hated being at the Arnold, but they had to go there to compete. And so as they're walking out, my buddy Brad nudges me and goes, "Hey, there's Louis. You need to go talk to him. You've been reading his articles, and if you want to get better, you can't stay where you're at." And so I'm fucking like, shit, this is, this is hard to do. This is embarrassing. He's like, "Just fucking do it." What's he going to say? No. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I rattle through the crowd. I get in front of Louis, and I hit him on the shoulder. I'm like, "Hey, buddy." And he goes, "Hey, what's up?" And I said, "I'd like to maybe come and train with you. These are my numbers. This is my age." He goes, "Oh, you seem like a pretty strong kid. Why don't you come by sometime?" So a couple weeks goes by, and next thing you know, I'm in Westside Barbell, and the rest is history. But yeah, the 90s were definitely special. You had a lot of great lifters at that time. The camaraderie, I think, was better. The internet hadn't really taken over. Articles and reading were how people got information, which I still think is way underutilized today. And so I think there was just a lot more inventive stuff or, innovative stuff happening at that time. Louis starting to learn how to figure out how to use chains. People were starting to train with traction-based mindsets. Not that they had everything figured out, but they were on their way. So this is Matt Winning at winningstrength.com. Go visit the website. If you want to see more of a background story on this, we have it at the Powerlifting Manual on the website, and it walks you through all of my trials and tribulations and all of the things that I did from the age of first starting all the way up. Talk to you guys soon.